Hello Facebook, it's Melissa coming to you live with my musings for today. So as some of you trickle in, I'm going to just be talking this evening about the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Give me a like if you do, give me a heart so I know that you're out there. But there is a big difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and it's something that we've learned about through reading. There's a great book called Mindset, ironically, by Carol Dweck, and she discusses the difference between the two mindsets and why they're so different and why one really contributes to success over the other. So the two mindsets, the first one is fixed. So it's always thinking. I'm actually going to read you the definition that she has, and then we're going to chat about it. So the definition of a fixed mindset comes from the belief that your qualities are carved in stone. So who you are is who you are, period. That's it. Characteristics such as intelligence, personality, and creativity are fixed traits rather than something that can be developed. So what that means is, in your mind, and this happens a lot with kids when they're told that they're naturally talented at something. They are told over and over again that they are naturally great at that they're amazing, and they become really afraid of failure. So it's a fixed mindset because they have it in their mind that what they have inside their head, their knowledge, is pretty much what what they possess, and that's it. They can't advance it. It's a fixed mindset, and it's really hard for them to experience failure and things like that. Then there's a different side of the spectrum. Hey Jenna, I'm so glad you joined. A true story is right. The difference between fixed and growth mindset is huge. So a growth mindset is kind of the opposite side of the spectrum. And the definition that Carol Dweck uses is, a growth mindset comes from the belief that your basic qualities are things that you can cultivate through effort. Yes, people differ greatly in aptitude, talents, interests, or temperaments, but everyone can change and grow through application and experience. So what this means is, when you have a growth mindset, as you're experiencing failures and things that happen in everyday life, instead of having the mindset like, oh no, I don't have the capacity to get past this or to grow from this, it's a growth mindset. So you're really, excited about the opportunity. There's some major differences between fixed and growth mindsets that you can kind of ask yourself to see whether or not you feel as though you have that mindset in that particular thing. The first is failure. Do you embrace failure or do you shy away from failure? We see this time and time again in the fixed mindset where kids, for instance, they'll be really great at sports, let's say, all through middle school, all through high school, and then they'll try out for a college team and they will lose it. They'll get maybe drafted to the college team and be on it, but because they're so afraid of failure, they'll actually be crippled and not be able to succeed within that setting. They're pushed beyond their means, and their fixed mindset tells them that they can't do it. So they shy away from failure. They're so afraid of failing that they'd rather not try it than try it at all. The growth mindset, on the other hand, considers a failure an opportunity for growth every time. So I have learned, I was not originally this way, but I have transitioned myself into a growth mindset in regards to failure. I feel like you have to when you're an entrepreneur, because you experience failures every day, multiple times a day. It happens. But I always consider failure an opportunity for growth. So as long as you're kind of evaluating the failure, what happened, what went wrong, and how you can learn from it, that's when you can really spin and make sure that you have a growth mindset. And it's amazing when that happens. Another way that you can ask yourself if you have a fixed or a growth mindset is obstacles. How do you treat obstacles when you run into them? Do you hit them like a brick wall and then back away and try something else, and like totally switch gears because you just feel like you can't do it? Or do you have a growth mindset and kind of try and bust through those walls when you have an obstacle? How do you approach the situation? It's a really good question to ask yourself and a good way to evaluate whether or not you've got a fixed or a growth mindset. Another way that we can kind of evaluate ourselves, there's John working in the background. Hey, John. Is effort. Do we see efforts as fruitless, or do we see efforts as a path to mastery? So that's one of the things that you can kind of ask yourself again. Fixed mindset, they consider efforts fruitless. There's a big difference between kids who think that they're naturally talented in something and then kids who are like Michael Jordan, who spent hours and hours and hours in the gym by himself practicing things like free throws. So how do you, mentalize your effort. Like, how do you perceive the effort that you're putting in? Is it, in vain? Do you think it's useless and fruitless? Or do you consider effort like the way to achieve your goals and success? It's a good question to ask. Criticism is another huge thing. Do you get really freaked out and upset and, it makes you feel bad about yourself when you get criticism, or do you embrace it? Do you love receiving criticism? Do you know, hey sister, Christina, or do you know that criticism is going to help you succeed? So that's another really great way that you can evaluate your fixed or growth mindset. Do you love criticism? Now, sometimes criticism isn't the easiest thing to hear. Sometimes it's really difficult to hear criticism, especially if you feel as though you've been doing something right or in the right way and you are experiencing criticism and somebody's telling you that it's not. I totally get that can be really hard to digest, but are you really adamant to receiving that criticism? Do you immediately think like, oh, that's on them, like I'm doing it right, I'm doing it my way, and that's how it's gonna be? Or do you consider that criticism and think like, I guess I could be doing this better, or improving in this way, or doing it to a certain standard that makes them happier versus me? So how do you approach criticism when you receive it? Another great way to kind of reflect on a fixed versus growth mindset is success of others. Does the success of others make you jealous because you have a fixed mindset and feel as though you can't also achieve those goals? Or does it make you feel pumped and empowered and excited for those other individuals because you know that you can achieve that success yourself? Hey, Rachel. Oh, I'm so glad you caught me live too. Hey. So good to see all you guys in here. I miss you. Give me some love. But yeah, so that's the big difference. You can kind of evaluate your own mindset and decide whether or not you kind of live in a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And I know in my personal life, when I first read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck, I was like, holy crap. Because there were a lot of areas in my life, and I had been able to reflect a lot on my past and realize that there were a lot of areas of my life that I was operating in a fixed mindset, and I needed to check myself. And at least reading the book made me really aware of the fact that I was operating in a fixed mindset so I could change it. And then I started transitioning myself into a growth mindset, appreciating criticism, being happy for others for their success, being excited about failures and things not going my way, because that really makes a big difference. You can learn a ton from failure, and having that type of mindset versus being really afraid of failure can be huge. I forget who it was, but I watched a YouTube video recently where a girl, I want to say it was the creator of Spanx, but I don't know for sure, so I'm not sure. But she talked about how her dad was an entrepreneur, and every single night at dinner growing up, they would talk about their failures from the day. And if they didn't have any failures from the day, the dad didn't consider the day a success. So I just encourage you guys to really try and operate from a growth mindset. It can be a huge game changer, and really it's the recipe to success. If you're shying away from things like failure, or being afraid of other people's success, or what were some of the others that we discussed? Oh, effort and obstacles. If you're, afraid of these things and you're, operating from a fear-based fixed mindset, you're not going to have the opportunity to succeed. You're not going to be able to push yourself beyond what you ever thought possible in achieving your goals and dreams, because I know that you can do it. I live my dreams every single day. So I currently encourage you guys to just crush it. You can do it. To think about what your mindset is. Is it fixed or is it growth? And it's really interesting because when you start really evaluating your own mindset, and if you haven't read the book Mindset, I would highly encourage you to get it on your list. It's a stellar book. But just think about, once you have that awareness, I meet with people all the time, and it's really interesting because now I can see, based on comments that they make, or maybe self-limiting beliefs, I can tell if they have a fixed or a growth mindset. And it's really eye-opening to have awareness around those two differences, to be able to see and be able to evaluate your own success. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't read the book, to read it. I hope this little tip was helpful for you, the difference between growth and fixed mindset. It's been a huge game changer in my life. And I love you guys. I'm so glad so many of you joined in. This must be like the opportune time to do a live video. I'll have to take note and do it at like around 7 p.m. Pacific time. Well, I gotta run and eat dinner, you guys. Love you. Hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Is it Monday? I think it's Monday. Love you guys. Bye.